Hello. I am a single mum in my 30s. It seems like the new year just started, but already it is spring in full swing. If you walk down the street, you can see pretty flowers here and there, and soon May, the month of family, will arrive. Every year in May, I am reminded of the time when a miracle happened in my life. Do any of you believe in luck or miracles? I honestly didn't believe it. Rather, I despised it, thinking that wishing for such a thing was torturing the people with hopes in dire situations. Ironically, it was a miracle that I met at the end of my despair, in May of the year that was the most difficult period in my life. I am living a very happy life now, but when I think about my past, I wonder, how did this happen to me? I can't believe it even though I've experienced through it enough. Thus, I decided to write a story about it. When I was very young, I don't even remember, but I was put in an orphanage, and until I entered elementary school, I thought all the children were living in a facility like me. But when I went to elementary school and saw other children who lived differently from me, I learned the reality. After that, I became an extremely introverted child who hated to stand out in anything. Fortunately, neither the teachers nor my classmates were particularly interested in me, so until I graduated from high school, I lived as if I were almost non-existent. But the problem was after I became 18 years old and had to leave the orphanage. Many people know that the orphans must leave the orphanage once they turn 18. I was not ready to be self-reliant yet, and in my young mind, I was afraid of becoming an adult. However, with the help of the head of the orphanage, I was able to get a job at a factory where lodging and meals were provided. I thought I had to learn to work and save money right away, so I worked hard, pretending not to hear even when people whispered behind me about my orphanage background. I was able to save about $15,000 not spending any money for almost a year. My boss liked me for working diligently, and she raised my pay. I thought that I could go to the city only if I saved up more money. I tried not to lose focus and continued to work hard. After 3 years, I became a skilled worker who was recognized in the factory, but around that time, I met my first love, who I know now was a great misfortune for me, but at the time, I believed it was destined. In the factory, I was the only young lady. Then, for some reason, a college student started coming to work, saying he wanted to learn this job. And because I was the only one around his age, he and I became close. We found out about each other, and he said that he was in college when his father's business failed, so he had to take a leave of absence and find work to earn money. Of course, he also learned that I grew up in an orphanage. The two of us listened to each other's life stories and comforted each other by saying that it must have been difficult. After that, we started to pay attention to take care of even the small things without asking the other person first. Our relationship turned naturally into a romantic relationship. It began with a promise to spend Christmas together, just as anyone else, desiring to spend it happily. We naturally became a couple, and I, who was always lonely after leaving the orphanage, just by the fact that I had a boyfriend, was very happy. I dated my boyfriend for more than 2 years, keeping it a secret from work. My boyfriend even proposed to me first, saying we should get married even if it would be a small wedding. At that time, I don't know what got into my mind, but I wanted to be with my boyfriend as soon as possible. So, I rented a small room with the money I had saved. And my little wish was for that moment to last forever with my boyfriend, but it was miserably shattered after living together for a little over 3 months when I became pregnant. At that time, I was 23 years old, and although I was bewildered because it was not a prepared pregnancy, I thought it was okay because we were to be married. And I was going to happily tell my boyfriend that I was pregnant, but I heard something strange from the factory. Shockingly, it was rumored that my boyfriend was dating the factory owner's daughter on the premises of getting married. Why? It was the woman whom he promised to marry and who lived with him. I wondered how that rumor could have started. I became so angry and I wondered if my boyfriend knew about this rumor. But right at that time, I happened to see my boyfriend and the boss's daughter being friendly to each other, being closer than usual. Then, I overheard something shocking. My boss called my boyfriend. "Hey, when did you two start to date? You little brat. You didn't even tell me." Do you know how surprised I was? I'm sorry, boss. I should have told you earlier, but because you know my situation. So, I was afraid you might not like it. Why did you worry over something like that? Anyone in business has ups and downs and they recover. Is your dad still having a hard time? I also had a lot of difficulties before my business became stabilized again. Michelle suffered a lot because of me. Yes, I heard. That's why Michelle was thinking a lot about you. She said she must become a diplomat so that you would be proud of her as your daughter. What? Did she say that to you? She has never expressed that to me. So this is why having a boyfriend to confide in is good. Anyhow, don't mind me, and I hope that things will work out well for the both of you. I will be good to Michelle and also to you, boss. I won't disappoint you. Okay, when there's no one around except you and me, don't call me boss, but call me mother. Thanks to my daughter, I feel like I gained a great son. I got goosebumps when my boyfriend winked at me as he approached me affectionately after that. He never suspected that I overheard his conversation. I couldn't put up with him any longer. So, I threw the pregnancy test kit that showed 2 lines, and when my boyfriend saw it, his face hardened coldly. He was very startled and kept telling me to talk it over somewhere else and tried to drag me away. However, once my rational thoughts gave way, I started to scream at him before I even realized it. Because of the loud noise I was making, people in the factory all looked at us, and my boyfriend's face became even more distorted into a mean frown. When I looked closer, among the factory workers, the owner of the factory was looking at us. I felt I had crossed a bridge of no return, and confessed that I had been living with my boyfriend as we were engaged to be married, and I was carrying his child in me. My boyfriend finally revealed his true colors. When he realized that everything turned sour for him, he shouted, "I thought you were an innocent girl, but how dare you, a mere orphan, to try to block my future?" Innocent? Why? Did I seem easy because I was an orphan? You're worse than a piece of garbage, you dirty bastard. Why don't you say it with your mouth? Did you say the same sweet talks to the boss's daughter as you have said to me? How dare you compare yourself to her? I love Michelle. The one that I want to marry is only her and no one else. Does the boss's daughter know too that you played around with another woman even though she thought you were marrying her? I won't let it pass easily. I will file a lawsuit against you. Okay, go ahead. Who would believe a cheap tramp from an orphanage like you? You're the one who seduced me first. What? Don't blame me. You like playing around with me too. So why did you get pregnant to cause all this trouble? I was almost there. My whole body trembled in fury. My legs gave in, so I fell to my knees. The owner of the factory walked over with a very angry face, and on my behalf, she kicked him hard in the shin. I guess I must be getting old. I don't have the eye to sort out the bad seed. Get out of my factory. Don't ever come around to my daughter. If I see you here next time, you will wish that you have never met me. I will terminate you as of today, and I will calculate your pay and put it into your account, so get out of here now. I was devastated, but my boss brought up something even more difficult, and as soon as I heard that, I wondered how I could go on and make a living. Before I'm your boss, I'm a woman like you, who's raising a daughter your age, and I hope you don't give birth to your baby. Cindy, not only you, but your baby will be unhappy. Do you know how hard it is to raise a child by a woman alone? If you give up your baby and if you want to continue to work here, that's okay with me. I can introduce you to another place to work if you want, but that is only after you decide to give up having your baby, as I have to maintain my reputation too. I can't introduce a single, pregnant, unmarried woman for a job, so think carefully and let me know. Thank you, and I'm sorry. Why do you say that? I thank you. Thanks to you, Cindy, that I got to know what a real bastard he was. If I didn't hire him in the first place, none of this would have happened. I'm sorry. Cindy, what should we do about this? She kept apologizing to me and I told her it was okay. However, inside, I wasn't okay. I was worried about what to do now that my marriage wasn't going to take place. And I was pregnant with that bastard's baby. I was fickle too, and I didn't want to give birth to a child whose father was a piece of garbage like him to ruin my future. So I went to a hospital to get an abortion. But when I saw expectant mothers waiting in the hospital lobby, I couldn't say that I wanted an abortion. I knew all too well what it meant to be abandoned by your own parents. In that instant, I decided to think of my baby only as my own and erase the memory of the baby's father. I wanted my baby to be happy. Unlike me, unlike my life. I felt stronger, and eventually, I ended up leaving that factory. At my decision, my boss didn't say anything to me, but she settled the account with my rental, and even added a bonus to my severance pay for me. She told me to come and look her up if I had any difficulties in the future, but I told her that I would just keep her kind offer in my heart. I didn't see her daughter's face, but I didn't want to see her. After that incident, I started to live as an unmarried pregnant woman, because my stomach did not show yet. I didn't have any difficulty to rent a room, but it was hard to find a job. So, I got a part-time job working at a convenience store and promotional jobs at a supermarket. Working here and there didn't bring much money, and I wasted more time going back and forth. Whenever I had to go for my regular checkups with a doctor, it was very expensive. I don't even have a baby yet, and my life as a single pregnant woman was a lot harder than I thought. I eventually gave birth and I couldn't work. There was some government assistance support, but I had to take care of my baby all by myself, so I couldn't do anything. But I gave birth to a pretty baby girl, and I didn't mind spending the whole day with her. I couldn't eat as much as I wanted, but I was happy, despite the lack of food and sleep, because my baby daughter was next to me. As if my daughter knew, but I was happy, despite the lack of food and sleep, because my baby daughter was next to me. As if my daughter knew that I was an awkward novice mum. She was a very good baby, never fussy. With the money I had saved up for a year, I was able to live out a year, and I vowed to work hard to take care of my daughter. When my baby turned 1 year old, I sent her to a nursery school and started to look for a job. Fortunately, an employer who was understanding of my situation as a single mother gave me a job. I was so exhausted at the end of the day, but I was grateful and happy that I could now buy things that my daughter needed. I wasn't greedy for anything except to live happily with my daughter. But as if even that kind of happiness was a luxury for me, my happy life did not last long. I had been working for about 5 months when I got a call from the nursery school that my daughter couldn't breathe well because she kept having nose splits too often. I thought she had a cold and took her to a pediatrician. Contrary to what I expected, the doctor told me to take my daughter to a bigger hospital, and I suddenly had a bad feeling. I took her straight to a university hospital to be tested, and the result turned out that my daughter had acute leukemia. I was so broken. I thought there was no unluckier person than me. I was born and abandoned in an orphanage. My first love turned out to be a piece of garbage, and with a big decision. I gave birth to my daughter, and she has leukemia. I couldn't help but resent God for my predicament. If I couldn't even do that, I felt I would go crazy. I swore at God, asking him what did I do so wrong to not give me at least this one happiness. I screamed as if I lost my mind and went crazy. But as time passed, I was faced with piling up hospital bills that I couldn't afford to pay, and the pain that my baby had to endure all by herself left me shivering, and the urgent loans I had taken pressured me to pay back. My life was pure hell. On top of that, my employer, who was very understanding, told me she had to let me go as she couldn't give me any more time off. Because I worked for less than a year. I had no insurance or any severance pay. I thought this must mean that I shouldn't live any longer. I was in panic. My daughter needed a bone marrow transplant and went into a long treatment while she was on a donor's waiting list. At that time, I didn't even have money to afford to wait for a donor. When I was pushed into a helpless situation like that, I had to seek out those that I grew up with in the orphanage to ask for a loan, which I hated to do, even if my life depended on it. But all of them apologized for their inability to help me out. Some even put a dagger into my heart when they heard about my daughter. "Cindy, why did you even give birth to a baby? I guess you have no fear. Now you just have to accept that as your baby's fate. You need to think of your own life. You will only be in big debt. Did you try to contact the father of your baby? Why do you hold on to a bombshell by yourself? That cowardly bastard. I guess he doesn't even know his baby is born into this world. Your life is so pathetic too." I didn't call to hear all those things, but after I hung up the phone, I wept for a long time. Now that I think back, I think I cried every day. Then, I thought of the owner of the factory. Even after I punched in her phone number, I couldn't bring myself to press it. That was because I didn't mean to find out about it, but I learned that her daughter couldn't give up that bastard and ran away from home to live with him. So my ex-boss was in great turmoil because of her daughter. Yet the day to pay the hospital bills came up so fast. I even resorted to buy 5 lottery tickets that I had never bought before as my last resort of hoping for a miracle. When I checked the number, of course, I didn't have the winning numbers. No matter where I looked, I had no hope. Everywhere around me, flower bouquets were all around with people's smiling faces to celebrate Mother's Day. I felt as if everyone except me was happy, so I felt it was so unfair and made me angry, so I drank a whole bottle of whiskey by myself. Then I heard a group of women who were sitting around talking at a table in front of the convenience store. You all know that, right? That 2-story house over there with a peach tree. Their daughter died of leukemia. Everyone knows that around here in that big house, only 2 women lived, but her daughter died, and now only her mum is living there, so everyone feels sorry for her. But that daughter had a guy she was going to marry. You didn't know that, did you? Oh, really? That poor guy. Or is it fortunate since she died before they got married? But that woman has a lot of money though, right? Well, because they registered the marriage before they had the wedding, so legally he became her son-in-law. But that bastard goes there every day, throwing a tantrum to give him the death insurance of her daughter. Really? Then he registered the marriage because of money, didn't he? Is that right? I feel sorry for that woman. I do morning exercise with a woman who is very close to the owner of the house. I heard from her that she was mistreated by her mother-in-law because she couldn't give birth to any children. So she adopted a daughter and thought she was going to be happy, but her husband passed away. And she raised her adopted daughter. But she also lost that daughter and only got that awful son-in-law. What a tragic life. That's true. But that woman got a lot of money, so I don't worry about her, as you do. She could just sell the house and hide somewhere away from that bastard. Oh, that's so true. I was blinded by their talk that the woman of the house was wealthy, and I saw a drunk man press the doorbell right after midnight. Hey, open the door! I'm the legal husband of your dead daughter, so why can't I get my wife's insurance money? Are you going to take all the money you have and take with you when you die? It doesn't matter even if you hate it, because now the only family member you have is me. When I heard that guy yelling, I thought what those women said was all true. And I shouldn't think bad thoughts, but the more I looked up at the house, I had only one thought. I wanted to break into the house and get anything that could be made into cash. But at the last minute, my conscience held me back. I quickly left the place. But the next day, the bone marrow that matched with my daughter was found. I heard that an operation was possible to do the bone marrow transplant. Even though it was very good news because I couldn't pay the balance of the hospital bills, as I didn't even have $100 to my name. I had no answers. Instantly, that house with a peach tree came to my mind. I decided then, when the world was pushing me toward a cliff, how could I live morally? So, I decided to save my child first and be punished for it later, and told the hospital that my daughter will get the operation. And late at night, I went by that wealthy woman's house. I looked at the wall to jump over, but it had sharp edges to prevent bad people like me. I was prepared to die, so whether there were sharp edges on the wall or not, I climbed over. My hands were cut and they bled profusely, but I wasn't in the right frame of my mind, so I didn't even feel any pain. I was looking for an opening to break into the house when I found a window wide open on the first floor of the house. I was able to enter it easily through the window, but I saw a woman who seemed to be the owner of the house collapsed on the floor without any consciousness. I didn't even think to call 911 and just thought I was fortunate, found the room, and I started to put valuable things into a bag, and when I came out into the living room, the woman regained her consciousness and was sitting blankly like a statue on a sofa. I was shocked to see her and fell on the floor, and things spilled out of the bag as they rolled toward that woman, but she didn't seem surprised and just calmly said, "Why is a young girl like you with a bright future ahead of you stealing? Is your life that difficult to live? I'm sorry, in that room, there's nothing of value to bring you any money. It's my deceased daughter's room. She never expressed any material desires, so there's nothing of significant value. Look inside that door. That's my bedroom, so there should be some valuable items that could fetch you some money. Mom, this is my first time doing something like this. Please believe me. I know I shouldn't have done this, but my daughter is ill and I needed money for her surgery. So I did something I shouldn't have." "What? Money for the surgery? Is your child very ill?" "She has leukemia. She needs a bone marrow transplant." "Have you found a donor?" "Yes, but I have no money. I've exhausted all my options for loans, so I have nowhere to turn for money. That's why I resorted to this. I'll leave everything here. Please don't report me. My daughter only has me, so if I'm not there, she has no one. You must be very desperate, but why are you trying to leave empty-handed? Don't move, just wait there. Unlike her previous blank expression, she got up, took my bag, and went into her bedroom. She filled the bag with all sorts of things, and she even gave me her check card when I came to her house to steal. Take this and use it to pay the hospital bills. Because a despicable person comes to my house so often. I have no cash in the house? No, how could I do that? It's not what you should say when you came here to steal. How old is your daughter? She's almost 2 years old. She's so young. As a mother, you must have endured a lot. You said your baby has no one except you. How difficult it must have been to be all alone. Where's the father of your baby? Did he pass away? No. After I got pregnant, I found out he was a scoundrel. He didn't even want to marry me. But he lied to me that he wanted to marry me. What a scoundrel. Did he abandon his woman who was pregnant with his baby? When a complete stranger took my side, I choked up, but I suppressed my tears. Then the woman took me and hugged me. No one could make that difficult decision like you did to have your baby, nevertheless. I am proud of you. You were very brave. When she said that, I could no longer hold back my emotions and ended up bursting into tears. I cried in her arms for a long time. She kept patting me on my back, saying it will be all right. It was so comforting to be in her arms and there. I was going to do a bad thing to her. I regretted so much and told her that I would just leave, but she insisted that I take her card. What are you going to do with the hospital bills? I will tell you the password to my card, so you can also withdraw cash to spend as needed. No, how could I do that? What do you mean? Do you know that tomorrow is Mother's Day? I didn't know either, but I saw it on the news on TV. So just think of it as a gift from me. I'm doing it for your baby, not you. You can get her the bone marrow transplant, so why are you hesitating? My daughter died because she couldn't get the bone marrow transplant in time. In this world, nothing is more valuable than human life. It's your child's life, so it's even more precious. After I heard that from her, I took the car from her with trembling hands. Then I told her that I would pay her back by doing whatever work I could find. Then she smiled slightly. That kindly face of hers couldn't be forgotten and remained with me forever. With her money, my daughter received the surgery safely, and miraculously, she came back healthy and got her life back. After a while, she was able to go back to her nursery school. Then, I went back to work to pay that woman back. Fortunately, the card she gave me was a check card, so whenever I had money, I started to deposit a little here and there. I went to her house and left some snacks and fruits for her in front of her front door. One day, I went to her house to leave some food I had made, and this time, she was waiting for me in front of her door outside. Thank God, I caught you this time. Did you wait for me? Yes, I have been waiting for you even yesterday. How could you seduce me with your delicious food? So how could I help but not wait for you? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Why should you be sorry? Is this little girl your daughter? She's so pretty. How could a tiny thing like her be walking? Anyway, what did you bring? I made some casserole. I wasn't sure if you would like it. I was hesitant about whether I should leave it or not. What are you talking about? Who doesn't like casserole? I love it. Why don't you come in and eat with me and go? As you know, I'm alone, so I'm too lonely. When she said she was lonely, I told her I would. Fortunately, my daughter took on to the woman very well, and it was my first time to face her and eat with her. But the whole house seemed to have a lively atmosphere compared to what it was like before. Your house looks brighter, doesn't it? After meeting you, I also got hold of myself. Actually, my daughter was from an orphanage like you. At that time, I wasn't living. I thought about just taking my own life even. But as if my daughter sent you to me, you showed up in front of me. But I had a bad motive that day. I know, but let's keep that to just between you and me. I told you then, as a mother, what couldn't she do to save her child? I'm thankful that you came to my house. Thanks to you, I have done what I should have done for my daughter. She said she changed her mind from taking her life and she started to live. Then she started to clean and organize her house. Then among her deceased daughter's belongings, she found something and discovered that her daughter was forced to register a marriage, and even though she was sick, she initiated court proceedings to void the marriage registration. She immediately sought out an attorney to file a lawsuit, and although it would take a while, she felt that she was finally doing what her daughter wanted to do. She smiled. She said that she got rid of that person who pestered her for money, and I thought, a mother must act like that. I will be a mom like her for my daughter too. If it weren't for you, my daughter would have felt a greater injustice done to her. Thank you. It's not my doing, so I'm more grateful to you. Thanks to you, my daughter got her life back. She's alive because of you. Is that why you deposit the money into my account every month? That's because I gave you money to spend it, but you're putting it back. So how do you think that makes me feel? Still, I should have a conscience. So I waited to say those words to you. I beg your pardon? What do you mean? Don't deposit the money into my account from now on. Instead, just come over to my house often and play with me. Bring your daughter with you so I can watch her little charming thing playing. Let's eat together. I can't taste anything when I eat alone, so let's eat delicious food and chat often together like today. Still, how could I do that? I spent so much of your money. Didn't you say you got a loan? I will pay that off for you. I was gonna donate your money. I was gonna donate my money when I die anyway. In exchange, you have to come and see me at least 4 times a week. Or if possible, just move into my house. I won't ask you to pay any rent. I was astounded. Then she broke into laughter after seeing my shocked look. Then she continued, and I can never forget what she said to me. Why? Do you think something like this couldn't happen? But once in a while, such things do happen. It strangely happens for the best, so smoothly that you become nervous over it. At least once. I think that the time is now. I wanted to give you that one chance like that to you. This world is too small to believe in it, and it is too harsh and too unfair. So who knows? The grace that I offer you will come back to me as a blessing. So don't hesitate, and just accept it when I'm offering it to you. She told me not to hesitate, but I hesitated. It wasn't to analyze it, but I was afraid because it was too good to be true. Aside from the money part, I just wanted to hold her hands she offered me. And while living my life, I wanted to repay her. As if she felt that I was very sincere, the 3 of us became a tight-knit family and very special to one another. We spent the 4 seasons together. I now call her my mom. But have we become too close? There was a rumor in the neighborhood that I approached my mother for money by even using my daughter as bait. And that bastard must have heard about us, and he started to come around my mom's house and shamelessly came to see me. How have you been? Has our child grown that tall already? Shut up. This child has nothing to do with you. And why are you here? It's a small world, isn't it? Why do you think I'm here? I came to be compensated since you have ruined my life. What are you saying? You seduced the boss's daughter and ran off with her? Ran off? Yes, I did. But that woman reported me as a kidnapper. It's all your fault. If you didn't say that you were pregnant, that factory and all her money would have been mine. You make me laugh. Do you think the world is that easy? I'm the one who got mixed up with you, and you made me suffer and go through all kinds of hardship. Yet what? Be compensated? You're an orphan anyway. Don't orphans all live like that? Why do you blame me for that? It's said that children take after their parents. You aren't gonna make my daughter into an orphan, are you? What? How dare you say that? Now let's think positively. I heard that you got some money from this wealthy household. Why don't we divide up that money? We made our baby together, so we should divide the money too. I will act like a father once in a while. Honestly, you need a father for your daughter. He reminded me how angry I was with him. I even forgot that my daughter was watching us, and I lifted my hand to slap his face. But before I did it, a splash of water was poured onto him from behind me. When I turned around, my mom was standing, angrier than I was, and she was holding an empty water bucket in her hand. She was furious and grabbed him by the collar. I was more worried, not for my mom, but for that bastard, because it seemed she was gonna crush him. It's you. You're the one who made my daughter suffer. Let go of me. Who's your daughter? Who do you think it is? She's standing right here next to you. Look, lady, she was vying for your money and approached you. She's an orphan. How could you say she's your daughter? Before I slit that dirty mouth of yours, shut your mouth. Did you come here after hearing the rumors in the neighborhood to see what you could get some scraps from her? As a man, you're nothing but a despicable, cowardly piece of garbage. She's my daughter, and her daughter is my granddaughter. Daughter, how dare you push that shitty face of yours here? Why? Just because my daughter is naive? Is she an easy pushover for you? Should I report you to the police for committing fraudulent marriage? What a loser are you to even abandon your own baby? Yet, do you claim yourself a human being? Hey lady, are you crazy? At that moment, he lost his mind with anger and threatened my mom, and out of reflex. I kicked him hard with my foot, and I must have hit him in his vital point because he collapsed on the spot, unable to scream. Since we didn't know how we would react, my mom came to me and hid me and my daughter behind her as if a mother was protecting her offspring. That's when she said something that I could never forget for the rest of my life. You listen carefully. In this world, no one is born without any parents. Just because she's an orphan, do you think she has no parents? Everyone has their own situation. How would you know anything about that? So don't you blabber your mouth. I'm telling you once again, Cindy is my daughter. Right now, I'm her mother. I have nothing I won't do for my daughter. For someone like you, I won't bat an eye. Even if a truckload of you comes here to attack me, I'm not afraid. So get out of here. If you appear in front of my kids once more, then I will report you for stalking us. That bastard moaned as if where he got kicked was still hurting and ran away. When my mom threatened him, fortunately, he never came back. Still, my mom seemed to be worried and suggested a proposal. Cindy, I thought about it for a long time. Let's sell this house and move to somewhere else so the three of us can live peacefully. Sell this house? No, this house means a lot to you. You can't do that. Never. It's true that I do have a lot of memories here, but just as much as the memories, our future is just as important. If it weren't for Emily and you, I would not be here, but now my family is more important to me. You have to think of Emily too. I don't want people gossiping to be found out by Emily. So let's live where no one knows us, so that we can live as a family. I always wanted to run a floral shop. I want to find new work now that we are at it. Do you have anything you want to do? Her eyes twinkled as she asked me. When I looked at her eyes, I couldn't continue to go against her wishes. To date, no one has ever asked me what I wanted to do. When my mom asked me that, my heart beat so fast with excitement. I thought long and hard to ask myself what I wanted to do. 5 years later, my mom is running a pretty floral shop, and I make wonderful coffee in a cafe that is combined with a floral shop with a beautiful ocean view. My daughter is now in elementary school. People around here call us the 3 generations of women. Everyone thinks we are a real family. Fortunately, my daughter is growing up cheerfully, thanks to my mom and my efforts. She's so chatty, and once in a while, I tell her that she's too talkative. But my mom always says that her grandchild is her number 1 in her life. She will scold me whenever I say that. Our beautiful Emily talks so sweetly, so why are you giving her a hard time? Emily, this grandma loves hearing you talk more than anything in this world. Everyone in the neighborhood says that my mom spoils her granddaughter. Emily like no other. Whenever I watch those two where my mom is so devoted to her and loves her so greatly, it reminds me of that miraculous Mother's Day. The incident occurred 5 years ago, and I thank both of them for being with me. But more than ever, I want to say thanks to my mom. When I made a bad decision, I want to tell my mom. Meeting her was itself a miracle for me on that day. Although I'm not sure what it means to my mom, meeting her was itself a miracle for me on that day. Although I'm not sure what it means to my mom. Thank you for listening to my miraculous story. Please cheer for me and write your comments of wisdom in the comment section.